Everybody, I've been on multiple shows and they've put this clip in front of me, and I haven't really thought about it, so I'm just going to respond. There's probably useful information in here. Harry actually does usually put out some good stuff.
Okay, so, if you go back 6 months ago, you go back to April, Cape Baldwin, what were we looking at? Well, we were looking at the Democrats with a very clear shot of taking control of the U.S. House of Representatives, according to the Kalshi prediction market odds. We saw them at an 83% chance. But those odds have gone plummeting down. Now we're talking about just a 63% chance, while the GOP's chances up like a rocket, up like...
Yeah, April was like, everybody was really upset about Liberation Day and the stock market tanking. And some pollsters who will remain nameless, Atlas, put out Democrats +9, which was, in my opinion, Looneyville. Now, we had a Democrat +4 that we put out months later after things really did get bad. And then we had a Democrat +2 that we put out with the National Association of Independent Pollsters. So I think the generic ballot has tightened. I think people have sort of come to terms again, familiarized with the chaos of how Trump operates. I think that's really what's going on. But the numbers he's referring to are from here, the Kalshi prediction market, and wow, look at that massive change. Is that just over what period? Wow. So what I was about to say about the Kalshi prediction market is, look, here's the history of this one particular betting market. This is a two-sided market. It just trades like a stock, like a financial market. And what you need to know is that it's not very liquid. This is $1 million of total notional trades up till today. Meaning it could have been one person buying $500,000 of one side and the $500,000 on the other side, and basically two trades. Now, that's not really what it is. If you look at activity, you can actually see the trading activity, and we're talking about some pretty small trades here, $75. Some of the bigger ones, like this would be like $400 here. And a decent number. You can look like we have maybe about 15, 20 trades an hour. I added these up for one day, and I think the total notional was in the 3,000 vicinity. So one person can come in and essentially completely double the volume on the market with one $3,000 trade. And so I think you can see moves like this, where this is probably on, where is it? Let's see if we can find the trade that moved this. It's probably this one here. Sold no Democrat contracts, 10,000. There's another 6,000. So you can see that there's basically two whales moving this market, and they're only a couple $100 trades. So I don't think it's liquid. I think this market is heavily manipulated. And what we'll see is, as we approach the election, maybe this will get up to like hundreds of millions of dollars. And then it's very hard for some person to come in, write one check and just completely move the betting market. And we can look, there's other political markets that probably have much higher. Fed decision in October, 13 million in total notional. Mamdani winning New York, 35 million notional. This is probably better, and that's, in my opinion, an accurate representation of what's going to happen. 87% Mamdani. But my point is that this is getting top billing on CNN when essentially the number's highly manipulatable.
Gold up from 17% to now a 37% chance. So we'll look like a pretty clear likely Democratic win in the House come next year has become much closer to a toss-up at this point, although still slightly leaning Democratic.
What's changed? What are you seeing?
Okay, what has changed? Well, why don't we just take a look at the national picture first? Take a look at voters and how they're feeling about things. And we can take a look at the generic congressional ballot. And I want to take a look and compare it to 2017, 2018, right? Because that's sort of the baseline. That was, of course, the first Trump term. That was where Democrats were sort of keeping pace. You go back to April, look at the generic congressional ballot. What you see? You see +3 Democrats in 2025 in April. You see +3 Democrats back in April of 2017. Now,
got to remember, 2018 was an utter shellacking, though. And so it's kind of a false equivalency. I mean, yeah, okay, +8 versus +3.
Jump over to this side of the screen. What happens? Well, the Democrats are no longer keeping pace with the pace that they were setting back in 2017, 2018. You look.
Democrats aren't doing as good as 2018 is not cause for concern for them. It just really isn't.
Back in 2017, you saw that the Democrats had leaped up to an 8-point advantage. I remember covering this. I remember a lot of folks, including myself, saying, you know what, Republicans look pretty decent right now in terms of the fact that they had the House, they had the Senate, they had the presidency, but things were likely going to flip. And I was looking for the same signs this year. The bottom line is it hasn't happened, Kate Baldwin. It hasn't happened. Democrats have stayed basically steady. They have fallen off the pace. Democrats were way.
This is what happens when I think they converted a lot of their low propensity voters into high propensity voters. And then the Republicans picked up a whole lot of new voters. And so the Democrats don't have this like surge volume of people that will turn out on a dime all of a sudden out of the woodwork when they were told for the very first time that their president is a Russian.
Out ahead back in 2017 on the generic congressional ballot. And now we're basically looking at Democrats ahead. But again, they are so far in back of the pace that they set back there. And so I think what a lot of folks are seeing, folks like myself, are saying, wait a minute, given what we might be seeing in redistricting, is this +3 going to be enough, Kate Baldwin?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. One change from that cycle is also this mid-decade redistricting effort that we've been covering so much. You add that in, and what do you get?
Okay, so we add that, and we take a look at the national picture, but then we, of course, taking a look at the state legislators, right? They are potentially changing things, and there are two things that are going on here. First off, net mid-decade redistricting gains. If both sides max out at this point, there are more Republican gains possible than.
That's what happens when the Democrats gerrymander forever and Republicans don't keep up, and all of a sudden there's a gerrymandering arms race. And I do think there could be political blowback for doing this. That much now that you're going to have Prop 50 in California, though, I'm not sure. But yeah, okay, GOP is going to pick up some seats here. Democrats are going to pick up some seats probably by winning the House National Popular Vote, unless Republicans change something drastically, including election integrity. So it's a wash. Maybe. I don't know. It's so close that you really can't tell by the polling.
Democratic gains. Yes, the Democrats might try to counter a Texas and a California, but you go along in the different states and basically Democrats run out of room where Republicans are able to gain and gain and gain. If both sides max out, we're probably looking at a GOP gain of +7 House seats. That doesn't even take into account the potential gutting of the VRA that is right now going to be in front of the Supreme Court. If you add that in, you could be looking.
The Voting Rights Act.
What? Yes, exactly right. The Voting Rights Act. If you add that in, then you could be looking about adding 10, 12, 15, 17 on top of this 7 seats. So I think a lot of folks like myself are looking at this. We're seeing, hey, wait a minute. Those national polls are Democrats are not gaining the way that we expect.
No, if you support Democrats, this is probably the right message to tell your followers, which is like, no, don't be complacent. This is a problem because the Republicans are actually playing ball with redistricting. But if you want the Republicans, they're in power. They could like be converting people to Republicanism by actually just doing their jobs, and they're not. And it's kind of sad to see. You know, there was something that I didn't really have time to talk about before. But John Thune pretty sure came out with a quote when asked, because a lot of people have been asking, like me now. I was the one, I think, that started it. Like, use the nuclear option yesterday and pass bills. Marjorie Taylor Greene's been out there calling for them to do this. John Thune had a quote where he basically came out and said, well, the math's not there. Well, what does that mean? That's like not, oh, it's a bad idea. The Democrats will use it when they get into office. Then too, it's, we think it's a good idea, but we can't do it because we got Murkowski. We have these people who we cannot do it. If the Republicans in the Senate wanted to, even to just end the shutdown, they literally can't, because those marginal voters in the Senate are the ones most susceptible to pressure from people who want to maintain the status quo. I don't know what to tell you. And maintaining the status quo, again, it's not this idea of like, they don't want bills that do what voters want, which is what you get, in my opinion, with a Senate that has a simple majority. And yes, Democrats would get in charge and they would pass their bills, but their bills would be stupid, and then Republicans would get back in charge. Like, that's the way that this is supposed to work. And if they do unconstitutional stuff, then you got a court system for that. And then you also have oversight in Congress.